Hello people of YouTube, my name is Lorenzo Manuel and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while and I kind of wanted to present it to you guys on YouTube as I am looking to expand a little bit my reach through YouTube, and I found that I would really like to make some content for you guys to help you, especially in those areas where, you know, it's harder to find answers even online. Today we're going to talk about templates, and the way we're going to talk about templates is, you know, I just want to try to stay away as much as I can from that saturated market of like, here's how you do a template, here's how you load a track, here's how you route the signal. Today, actually, I'm going to talk about an alternative method to create your template, or to think templates. Originally, templates are instruments or matrices that you use to have a mental organization that works for your workflow, or sometimes even to create a workflow in the case of somebody that is trying to understand how to have workflow, what their workflow is. And I think the way I want to talk to you about this, guys, is presenting a tangible, or in this case, visual example of this type of template. So now this one is one of my templates. This is my main template, and the reason why it's my main template, it's because it's usually where I start from, and then when I understand a little bit what the project is about, then I move over to another template where things are a little bit different. But for the sake of today's video, let's just say that this is the one and only template that I have on my system, because I don't have enough RAM on my system. I don't have enough resources, and guess what? I have more instruments than I have amounts of RAM available to me. So in this case, I have 32 gigabytes of RAM, which basically a lot of you guys understand how much that is. It's not a lot anymore on today's standards. It's still enough to make a living, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. Now, I know a lot of you that have 8 gigabytes of RAM, or 16 gigabytes of RAM, sometimes even 12 gigabytes of RAM, sometimes 4 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, the options are limitless in terms of how little RAM somebody can have in his computer. Maybe you have 1 gigabyte of RAM. I don't know. Maybe you don't have RAM. I don't know how you run your computer. But anyway, the concept that I want to bring to you guys is that I found myself having more plugins than I have RAM. And I hit the stumbling stone a couple of years ago when I first built this computer. I outperformed my computer with my sounds. Now, with an example. Yeah, I think you guys can hear that. All right. So if I go in my contact player, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sample rate changes, blah, blah, blah. So in here, you can see I have the grandeur loaded in this instance, but it's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and purge that. So you can see here, I run Cinestrings and Cinebrass and Spitfire Albion 1 as my main orchestral sounds. Then I have Tina Guo cello legato, which is only the cello legato. I have Spitfire Percussions, which is incredible. If you guys are looking for a solo percussion library, by solo I mean just, you know, it just gives you percussions. This library, it's incredible. It sounds just amazing. And then I have from Sound Iron. These guys are amazing, by the way. Sound Iron, shout out to them. They are incredible company. They make extremely good sample libraries. Olympus and Mercury. Olympus is a adult choir. Mercury, it's a boys choir or children choir. And I have the elements of that, which is not really the complete section. But now, on top of this, I have also the Play Engine, which I have the entire Hollywood library collection. There's brass, woodwinds, Hollywood brass, Hollywood woodwinds, Hollywood strings, and Hollywood percussions. So that takes up about a terabyte on a hard drive, slightly shy of a terabyte on a hard drive. That is about 720, 730 gigabytes. Those 4 libraries. It's huge. It's so many samples. It's not incredible. And I do run those as well as the instruments that you guys see here. Then I have the Complete Ultimate 10, which I take these instruments from, of course. I have bought Una Corda. So you guys can see I have a fair amount of instruments. not the most complete library in the world. It's it's an expansion. It's an ever expanding library, and I can do a lot of things with this. Especially because I have a lot of orchestral sounds, a lot of percussion, a lot of brass, a lot of woodwinds, and all that beautiful stuff. But I found out that as I was constructing my template for the first time about a year ago, once I had all these instruments, I found that I didn't have enough RAM on my system to run all of them, even when I purged them. Because you guys know that you can purge instruments in Kontakt. What you do is that what you saw me do earlier. So you go in here on this little arrow. It comes out with its drop down menu. So you go to the single instruments and just do purge all samples. What that does, basically, if you guys don't know, it's indicated by these little rectangulars here. So what it does is simply takes off the RAM, it deletes off the RAM the samples of that instrument. So right now it's on red. That means that none of the samples are loaded onto RAM. So that means that if I press a button, now it needs to stream it right from the disk, not from the RAM, which makes it much slower and sometimes crackles, and there are some noise artifacts on it because it's streaming from the hard drive. And in this case, it's streaming off on an SSD. So you see here, so it's pretty fast, like you can see, because of course I have two SSDs in RAID 0. That's where it's streaming it from. So it's not gonna crackle that much. But for some people, they may experience crackle, especially if they stream it from a 7200 RPM HDD, so a hard disk drive, or even slower 5400 RPM, which is extremely slower and way noisier, by the way. But anyway, so as you can see here, that there is that red icon that keeps popping up, because that is saying, Kontakt is telling me like, yo dude, things are streaming off we're keep loading onto the RAM the samples, just so you know. So it's letting you know that the samples that I trigger, every time I trigger a new sample, which could be dynamic wise, could be just a different note entirely or a different velocity entirely, that needs to load that particular sample off the hard drive onto the RAM. Now that yellow rectangular here that you see, what it's doing is basically saying like, okay, some of the samples are partially loaded onto RAM. But if I go here, then reload all samples, you see that white bar that we are all familiar with, it goes to white, which means that all the samples of this particular instruments are loaded onto the RAM. Now that takes up RAM space. Duh. Hello. So if I purge that, RAM has been freed. However, the catch with Kontakt and Play and just virtual instruments in general is that the instance of Kontakt, when it has an instrument on or a series of instruments on, waits on RAM. And that it doesn't wait as much as it would wait if you had everything loaded onto the RAM. So so say you have 16 of this grandeur and you have everything loaded onto the RAM, this would wait a lot more than if you do this. Have 16 instances, or one instance of Kontakt, one instance of Cotton, which is this one instance, but I have 16 grandeur loaded on it. Okay, that if I purge from RAM all those samples, then that would wait a lot less than if I had it, all loaded. Of course, I'm repeating myself here, but bear with me. Even then, it waits on RAM. And when you start having something along the line of 400, 500 instruments onto a template, 32 gigabytes of RAM may not be enough. Actually, are not. Even if you run a beastie processor, the processor in this case does not really make any difference. The RAM is the physical space these samples are loaded on, and therefore, if you don't have enough, you run into my same problem. You have to cut down on instruments, which is not really ideal when you're trying to construct a very beautiful and dynamic, all purposes template like I was doing. Because I don't have enough instruments right now to really sacrifice on anything. I don't want to keep out Cinestrings because I have Albion, because Cinestrings have a different tone than Albion have, and I need them for other things, especially for when I have to do like harmonics. The Cinestrings harmonics on the first, second, and violas are very beautiful, and so I don't want to sacrifice on those because because I have the flautandos from Hollywood Strings. So, and plus flautando sounds very different than harmonics. So in general, you understand my logic here. So here today, after this huge long intro, I want to present to you the solution to my problem, which came to me, and I'm sure it came to other people as well. I don't claim to be the smartest guy on earth that came up with this idea. It came to me. Why don't I make a template that is really just a template? What I mean by that, I mean that templates, when you load everything on, they are template that have everything loaded on. Okay, I know it sounds stupid when I say it that way. It really is that stupid. But this template has nothing loaded on it. The only thing that is loaded on, the only thing that actually is in here, it's this Grandeur custom one. That is the only instrument. In fact, if I open that, it's channel 7. This is the, that was the wrong one. That is the only one that it's loaded on it. So what does that mean? Well, here, if I go to brass, I go to Spitfire, I go to high octave legato, I open it, there is nothing on here. Now, a lot of you would ask, Lorenzo, this completely defeats the purpose of a template. Well, yes and no. The reason why this defeats the purpose of a template, as you probably are imagining, is that I have nothing loaded, therefore it's not fast. It's not something, it just defeats the purpose of being, loading the template and writing music. It really does defeat that way. However, it does not defeat the purpose because this has everything laid out exactly like if you had it on your full template where everything was loaded. All you have to do is going in, open the folder you want. In this case, this is how I organized it. Okay, I know that in this line, I really want a high octave legato for this part. The trumpets and, desk and horns need to do this. And so you go to high octave legato, open this up, load the patch. Brass, high octave. This is that a legato patch? Yes, it is a legato patch. Look at that. I was already in there. Load it. It will take its jolly time to load that patch. This is a huge patch. And you have, okay, so I know that is on channel 1. The send and return, the audio return of that track is on 1 as well. So what I do, I set these up. So channel 1 is already set up. For the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how to do that, how to route the sound. Now this is going to sound out of that return, and it's perfectly routed. Perfect. So we have the sound, everything is loaded, and it's ready to go. Now, this allows you to load virtually as many instruments as you can possibly have on your RAM. Without sacrificing on having a nice mental order of your template in this case. Because, of course, the main purpose of a template, and let's not kid ourselves, the main purpose of a template is to have mental order of your instruments, knowing exactly where things are, open folders, have that instruments right there, and you know where to find things. That's the very main purpose of a template. Now, that is my concept. That is my template methodology, if you want to call it that way, that I bring it to you guys. I hope this video was helpful to you. Please drop a like down, leave a comment down below. I read all my comments, try to, at least. I just started the channel, so please comment away, give me some inputs. What would you do on your template? What would you approach it this way? Would you rather have everything loaded and sacrifice on instruments and interchange instruments as you go? Let me know. Let me know. I'm really interested in the way you guys do your templates. Let's share ideas and let's have a nice conversation down below. For the moment, guys, this was Lorenzo Emanuel with my new channel, Ecophonics Audio. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.